Hello everyone, welcome back. Today is the day that I get to show you guys my amazing, awesome, I think, thrift store book haul and a few other things that I found. So keep in mind, or remember, if you're new here, I worked at a thrift store and I was manager of the book department. This week was my last week, so I'm now finished with my job, but these are books that I found while working that I just would set aside that I wanted to bring home with me. This wasn't just a one stop at a thrift store when I was shopping. Because I was the manager of the book department and I saw all the books first before they went out on the shelf, I was able to find some really great finds, I think. A lot better than I would if I would just go to a thrift store and shop for books. So that is my little spiel before I begin. I have them all separated into stacks by genre. I have some Christian nonfiction books, I have regular nonfiction books, I have some classics, I have some Christian fiction, a few junior books, one regular fiction book, and a big stack of, hey bud, and a big stack of children's picture books. And then a few other things. Like I said, I've got my coffee and Americano this morning with some cream, and yeah, let's just get started. Like I said, I'm really excited to show you guys my finds, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. I always love watching book hauls because I love to see what people's interests are and what the things they find, especially when it comes to thrift store finds, because I feel like when you go shop at a thrift store, you can find some really neat treasures sometimes. So yes, we're gonna start with my Christian nonfiction finds. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the first one is How to Read Your Bible for All It's Worth. This one is highly recommended by some Christian apologists that I follow, and it's just a guide, I guess, on approaching the Bible. This blurb says, a practical approach to Bible study in an easy to understand style, and I'll just read a little bit of the back here to explain a little more. Understanding the Bible isn't for the few, the gifted, the scholarly. The Bible is accessible. It's meant to be read and comprehended by everyone, from armchair readers to seminary students. A few essential insights into the Bible can clear up a lot of misconceptions and help you grasp the meaning of Scripture and its application to your 21st century life. So, I'm really excited about this one. I wanted to read it earlier this year. It was part of the book club that Elisa Childers has on her Facebook, and this was a book that they were all reading one month earlier this year, but I think it was over the time that I was not really reading. I think I also have a Kindle copy, but I did want the physical book so that I can highlight and annotate and take notes, all the things that I love to do with my Christian nonfiction books. Hey bud, what do you want? And then the next one is Knowing God's Love by Knowing and Believing God's Love, Exploring the Gospel of Christ in 1st through 3rd John. This is by Felicia Masonheimer. She has a lot of great little mini booklets that she sells on her website, and I own one already. It's the book on how the Bible came to be, and it's about how we came to our current canon of the scriptures. But I was really happy to find this one because I really appreciate Felicia's ministry and her wisdom and insight on a lot of things, and teaching women theology, which I think is very important. So I was really happy to find one of her books. Then this one is Missional Motherhood. It's also a very beautiful copy. Wow. I love the gold. By Gloria Furman, The Everyday Ministry of Motherhood and the Grand Plan of God. I don't really know much about this author, but I saw that Rosaria Butterfield blurbed the back and recommended it. So I was like, if Rosaria Butterfield is recommending it, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good one, because I love Rosaria Butterfield's writing as well, and her testimony. She wrote the book, the The Thoughts of an Unlikely Convert? The Secret Thoughts of an Unlikely Convert, I think. I'll put it up here so you guys can know which one I'm talking about. But I loved that book. It's about her testimony and her journey of coming to Christ. And speaking of Rosaria Butterfield, I found her book, The Gospel Comes with a House Key. This is one that I've been looking for so long. And I finally found it just last week, I believe, so I was really happy to find it in my final weeks of working at the store. This is Practicing Radically Ordinary Hospitality in Our Post-Christian World. So, this one is also highly recommended by a lot of people and some of my friends who have read it, so I'm really excited to read this one as well. The next one is The Story of Reality by Gregory Kukul, I think is how you say his last name. How the World Began, How It Ends, and Everything Important That Happens in Between. So Gregory Kukul is, he is the founder and president of StandToReason.org, and he's a Christian apologist that I love to follow, and yeah, he's brilliant and has so much wisdom and insight as well. So yes, I'm excited to read more of this. I love collecting books on Christian apologetics. And then this next one is just kind of a random one. I'm not even sure if it's something that I will enjoy, but I love C.S. Lewis's writing. I haven't read anything by Tolkien yet, but this is Bandersnatch. I love that name. But it's C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien, and the creative collaboration of the Inklings. So this is just an inspiring look at the Inklings and their creative process. So I thought it would just be a fun and interesting read, just to get a little bit more insight into their writing process and everything. I know that they were great friends, so yeah, just another random find. And the last one of the Christian nonfiction books is this edition of Fox's Book of Martyrs. It's very beautiful. I've always wanted to own a copy of Fox's book on the martyrs, because I think it's really important for us as believers to know the history of the church and know what the early church went through and all of the people who died because of their faith in Jesus. And most copies that I've seen of Fox's Book of Martyrs are really old, and they're also written in the Old English style, and so this one is written in updated English, so I think it'll be a lot easier to read, because I did try to read another edition of it and I was like, this is too much, I can't, or it was hard to get into. But these are, I think, written in a lot easier language to understand. So it does start from AD 33 all the way up to today. Let me see, what is the final year? 2018 is the final story, so yes. Fox, Voice of the Martyrs. Oh goodness. So then the next one are just my regular nonfiction books. The first one is Hero for Humanity. This is a biography of William Wilberforce, one of my favorite men in history. If you would ask me, I think I've mentioned this before in other videos, but if you would ask me who is one person, living or dead, that you'd want to sit down and chat with, it would be William Wilberforce. This man, his story and everything about how he fought so hard for the end of the Atlantic slave trade and so much more. Yeah, I don't know. I just really appreciate his story, and he has inspired me in so many ways. I have Eric Metaxas' biography on William Wilberforce, The Amazing Grace one, that the movie Amazing Grace is based off of, but yes, I just wanted to see how this one compares to that one, and if it's has a little more information about his life. But yes, that is Hero for Humanity, biography of William Wilberforce. Okay, so then the next one is Dick Van Dyke's memoir, My Lucky Life in and Out of Show Business. I actually read this book because I have this copy, paperback copy that is water damaged and basically falling apart, and it was free. I just brought it home because it was free and I wanted to read it. And I really enjoyed it. So when I found this very nice hardcover edition, I just got it to replace this one. And then the last one is this, The Faithful Spy graphic novel by John Hendricks, Dietrich Bonhoeffer and the Plot to Kill Hitler. I've seen several people talk about this on BookTube, and I always wanted to get a copy of that, so I was very happy to find that as well. Okay, so that was it for the regular nonfiction books. The next ones are classics, older stories, I guess. The first one is Agatha Christie's collection of short stories. This is the complete short stories of Miss Marple. So, yes, wanting to read more of Agatha Christie's books, so excited to find this one. The next one is The Big Fisherman by Lloyd C. Douglas. He's the one who wrote one of my favorite books, The Robe. If you would have seen some of my recent videos, you'll know which one I'm talking about. So I've been looking for a copy of The Big Fisherman as well, because I think The Big Fisherman is obviously about Peter, so I think it ties in and it comes after The Robe, or maybe even during some of the timeline of The Robe. But yes, very happy to have found that. This next one is Green Dolphin Street by Elizabeth Googe. This one is also one that I have read before. I bought it to replace this copy because it looks like it should have had a dust jacket, and it doesn't. It's not the nicest. It's also falling apart, I just now realized. Yes, I bought this one to replace that copy. I want to read more of Elizabeth Googe. This is the only one that I read, and at the time when I was reading it, I was just diving into the older stories and classics a little bit more. And I enjoyed many aspects of this story. I couldn't tell you a whole lot about it, but there were some things about it that annoyed me. Basically, I don't always love stories where the person ends up marrying, the main character ends up marrying somebody who they didn't originally love, and like it's kind of like a lost love story and they marry someone else. The couple does eventually learn to love each other, but I was still annoyed because I was rooting for the other person, if you know what I mean. But I did enjoy her writing, and I did enjoy many other aspects of this book. So I think I would like to reread this one just to see how and if my perspective of it changed since I'm older, because I think I read this when I was like in my mid-teens, maybe 17, 18-ish, I'm not really sure. But I would be interested to know if my perspective on it changed and if I can appreciate the story a little bit more than I did back then, because at the time I wanted books that were all happy endings and everybody ended up with the person they loved, so you know. But moving on, the next one that I got is Under the Lilacs by Louisa May Alcott. This is one that I did not know that she wrote, but I'm always down for Louisa May Alcott's writing and just trying to collect all of her books. I am a little sad that it doesn't match my other editions that I have of Louisa May Alcott's books, but you know what? It's fine. We can make do without. And these final two, I don't know a whole lot about. I just found them and thought they looked interesting and looked them up on Goodreads. They both had pretty high ratings, and yes, I don't know. So I just decided to bring them home and try them out. The first one is When Knighthood Was in Bloom by Edwin Cascoden. Let me see if I can find a synopsis on it. So basically it is a novel of the love story of Charles Brandon and Mary Tudor, the king's sister, and happening in the reign of His August Majesty King Henry VIII. So it's a novel set against the historic backdrop of the palaces and political intrigues of England and France. And yeah, I don't know, it just sounded interesting, so I thought I would pick it up and see if I enjoy it. Are you for sure focused? The next one is The Long Roll. Is it focused? By Mary Johnston. This is a Civil War novel based on General Sherman's story, I believe. This was written like very soon after. Not Sherman. Stonewall Jackson. That's who it's about. And there are some illustrations in here by N.C. Wyeth, which is pretty cool. But some reviews that I saw underneath were like, it's a very important historical novel, kind of up there with Gone with the Wind, I guess. It was written soon after the Civil War by someone, I believe she would have lived through it, I guess. Mary Johnston was a daughter of a Confederate soldier. The Long Roll is set among the fighting armies and deftly blends fact with fiction. Capturing the epic scale of the war, Johnston follows the adventures of the fictional Richard Cleve of Virginia, a Confederate artillery officer, and of General Stonewall Jackson during the most decisive engagements in the years of Confederate supremacy. Yeah, this one just had high reviews, so I thought I would try it out. I have no idea if I will enjoy it. I don't know if it's my kind of story because it does follow like a lot of the like actual war and the battles and everything, but I do love history, so that's kind of the main reason why I picked it up. But yes, that is the final one of my classics slash older books that I found. Next is my Christian fiction finds. The first one is Karen Whittemeyer's No Other Will Do. I have read this one as well, but I don't own a copy of it, except maybe on Kindle. I don't know, but I am slowly collecting some of my favorite Karen Whittemeyer books, and this is part of the Ladies of Harper Station series, and I'll just read the synopsis in the back. Men are optional. That was the credo Emma Chandler's suffragette aunts taught her, and why she established Harper Station, a women's colony that offers a fresh start to females in need. But when a dangerous and shadowy assailant tries repeatedly to drive the women out, Emma is forced to admit they might need a man after all. One who can fight, and there's only one man she trusts enough to ask. And that's it. That's all I read. But yes, I did enjoy this book, so I was happy to find a copy of it. The next one is The Doctor's Lady by Jodie Headland. I don't think I've read any of her books yet, but buddy, what do you want? Like I was saying, I don't think I've read any of her books, but I thought this one looked interesting, so I wanted to try it out. Priscilla White knew God wanted her to be a missionary, not a wife. Then the missionary board declares the only way she can serve is to be married. Now married, in name only, her epic journey west will test her spirits and the new longings of her heart. So, I always like those kinds of stories about marriage of convenience, I guess, in a sense, if they're written well, you know. So, we shall see if I enjoy this one. The next two are the final books that I needed to complete my Zion Covenant series by Bodie and Brock Taney. I read the first one, and then I found some more copies in this specific edition, but I didn't want to keep reading the series until I had all of them. Because I loved the first one so much, I want to reread it and then just go through the whole series and read them all together. But I'm really excited to have found these because I've been waiting for a long time to get to this series and read them all. So then the next one is Honor in the Dust by Gilbert Morris. This is a Winslow Breen novel, #1. I think it's just a trilogy maybe, but you've probably heard me talk, if you've been here for a while, you've probably heard me talk about the House of Winslow series by Gilbert Morris, which is one of my all-time favorite historical fiction series, about the Winslow family, beginning when they came over to America on the Mayflower, and the generations after, up until, I think he wrote the books up until the 1940s or 50s maybe. But this is kind of like a prequel to the Winslows coming over to America. So this would be set in England before the Pilgrims made their way over. So I'm excited to read these and get a little bit more of the Winslow ancestors stories. Okay, and the final one is Beyond All Dreams by Elizabeth Camden. This one, I'm going to just read the synopsis on the back, or a short portion of it. Anna O'Brien leads a predictable and quiet life as a map librarian at the illustrious Library of Congress until she stumbles across the baffling mystery of a ship disappeared at sea. Thwarted in her attempts to uncover information, her determination outweighs her shyness, and she turns to a dashing congressman for help. I just thought it sounded interesting, a little bit of a mystery involved, and she works at the Library of Congress. How cool is that? That sounds like a really fun job. So, Elizabeth Camden is one I don't think I've read before either, so just thought I would try some new authors in this haul. So moving on to the next stack. The next two are some mid-grade books that I found. The first one is Holes by Louis Sager, or is it Lewis? There's so many different pronunciations for the spelling of that name. I have a brother named Lewis and he spells it this way, but I also know that some people pronounce it Louis when it's spelled this way. So, I don't know. I think this is a pretty well-known mid-grade book, and my sister-in-law recommended it as well, and my mom-in-law, so I thought I would grab this copy and read it and see if I enjoy it as well. The next one is Strawberry Girl by Lois Langsky. This also won a Newbery Medal Award, so I assume it's good. I don't know, but I mostly got it because part of my childhood from like 12 to 18, my family owned a strawberry farm, and you know, when we first got started, our generation, with emails or online names, I was a strawberry girl. 97, I think, for the year I was born. And so I was like, I have to read this, okay? I have no idea what all involves in the story, but I thought it looked interesting, and it's a cute cover, so I will see if I enjoy this one. The next one is a fiction, just a regular fiction book. It is called The Bookshop by Penelope Fitzgerald. It's a very thin book, and I love the cover of it. And any book to do with bookstores or books, I'm intrigued. And the synopsis sounded a little interesting as well. In 1959, Florence Green, a kind-hearted widow with a small inheritance, risks everything to open a bookshop, the only bookshop, in the seaside town of Hardborough. By making a success of a business so impractical, she invites the hostility of the town's less prosperous shopkeepers. By daring to enlarge her neighbors' lives, she crosses Mrs. Gammert, the local arts doyen. Florence's warehouse leaks, her cellar seeps, and the shop is apparently haunted. Only too late does she begin to suspect the truth. A town that lacks a bookshop isn't always a town that wants one. So, I don't know if I'll enjoy it or not, but it did sound interesting, so we shall give it a try. And it seems like it will be a really quick read because it's not even 200 pages long, so that's great. Next one that I found is this book, What a Wonderful Word, a collection of untranslatable words from around the world. I just thought this was interesting because I love words and their definitions and finding unique words for specific things, you know? And it's got pretty fun illustrations like this one. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word. but it is Icelandic, and it means weather that looks beautiful while you're inside but is much too cold when you step outside. This word literally means window weather because it is best enjoyed inside the house. All that window weather has created a nation of writers and bookworms. Iceland has more writers, more books published, and more books read per capita than anywhere else in the world. Interesting. An amazing 10% of Icelanders will publish a book in their lifetime. What? I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's got just little random facts and random words from all around the world and pretty fun illustrations. So I just thought that would be a fun little book to just have to go through. Now on to my stack, very large stack, ooh, it's heavy, of children's picture books. I'm very, very picky with my children's books. I want them to be educational, fun stories, but also beautiful, you know? So I was really happy to find these because I think these all fit in that category. But anyway, the first little set, it's a partial set, are the Alpha Pets books. These I bought more for nostalgia reasons because I remember growing up as a young girl going over to my cousin's house and they had this series and we would sit for hours looking at all their books, and this was one of the favorites that we would read. But it's just short little stories about going through the alphabet, the alligator, Albert the alligator, Bradley the beaver, Connie the cat, and so on and so forth, and just little random stories, and they're all friends, and so you see all of these characters in all of these books. I only have A through H. They didn't come through the store that often, but I was collecting the ones that I could as they came through. The next one is Bringing the Outside In. I loved the outdoors. I spent most of my childhood outside with my brothers. And so this one just looked like a lot of fun. And just how when you're playing outside you're going to be bringing the outside inside with all the dirt and the leaves and the grass and everything. But it goes through the different seasons. There's the winter one. It did not have snow growing up in the south, but you know. I thought that was a cute one. And of course the classic Guess How Much I Love You story. I love this one. And the TV show, I know I'm adult, but when I'm taking care of some of my friends' kids and I put it on, it's so fun to just sit. It's very relaxing and aesthetically pleasing, and it's not overstimulating like a lot of kids' TV shows are. But yes, just the classic one. And it's a very nice addition, and it came with a animated Storytime DVD, so I thought that was fun. The next one is some more to add to my Christmas collection. Lassie, A Christmas Story. I always loved this Lassie story, and I grew up watching some of the movies as well. So I thought this one would be a fun one to have to add to my Christmas collection. And this one is Sydney and Norman, A Tale of Two Pigs. This was written by Phil Vischer. He was the creator of VeggieTales. I'm sure most of us grew up watching VeggieTales. If not, sorry. But yeah, just a little kind of parable-ish story about two pigs that has a valuable lesson in it about how God views us, and about pride and humility, things like that. And I thought it would be a great one to have. This next one, you're all my favorites. I love illustrations that are kind of like this. Like this one kind of reminds me of the Guess How Much I Love You story. So I definitely go for the cute and certain aesthetic children's books as well. And then just this little big little golden book, just Animal ABCs. The classic How the Grinch Stole Christmas, to add to my Christmas collection as well. The classic story of Ferdinand. This is a hard copy edition, and it's in really great condition. It's almost brand new, except that someone wrote a little note in it because apparently it was a gift. But yes, classic story of Ferdinand. This one, Arabella. is just a really fun story about a child visiting his grandpa, and his grandpa owns a little sailing ship named the Arabella, and I just thought it was cute. I read through most of these books before I purchased them because I wanted to make sure I wanted to actually have them, and I just thought it was a really cute story about the relationship this child had with his grandfather and the boats that they had. This next one is River of Dreams by Hudson Talbot, and it's basically just a very detailed history on the Hudson River, and gives a timeline of what it was back in the day and what it is now. And I just thought it was interesting. Like I said, I like the educational books that also have great stories and illustrations in them, so I thought that was a fun find. The next one is this one, Anne of Green Gables, the Illustrated Classics. I do have another copy for like really young children of Anne of Green Gables. It's like, but how many editions can you actually own? Like, how many is too many? I don't think you can get there. Because this one is a little bit more for older children, and I love the illustrations in it. I'll make sure I'm showing it to you. My children will love the story of Anne of Green Gables. There's no debate and no negotiations on that. I will make sure they love them by reading the stories to them in these books that I have, up until they are old enough to comprehend and read the original series, you know? This next one is, I thought was just a really fun story. It's called The Library, and it's about this girl who was very introverted and very much loved to read books, and she would just collect books. She would read books constantly. She took her books everywhere with her. She always had so many books, up until they were piled everywhere, all over her house, and she eventually decided to look at that, so many books. That's gonna be me soon if I don't watch it. But this is her story of how she then eventually started the Elizabeth Brown Free Library. It's just kind of a fun little story about the very special institution that is the library. So I thought it was just a fun little story. Yes, in charming verse and elegant watercolors, Sarah Stewart and David Small celebrate one of America's oldest pastimes and grandest institutions. So I thought it was a fun one. The next one is The King Without a Shadow by R.C. Sproul. R.C. Sproul is one of my favorite theologians that I love to read and listen to his messages online. And he's written several children's books, I believe. I own another one. I can't remember what it's called. But this one is just a story about God's holiness, and so I thought that would be a fun one to have. I also love to collect vintage books and vintage stories, and this one, The Little Dog Lost, it's about a fox. You will see many of these with foxes in them. But yeah, just a vintage children's book that I thought was fun and cute. This next one is from Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, actually, but it is Bunny's Book Club. So I'm trying to have lots of books about books for my kids as well, so that they learn to love books as much as I do. But I thought that one was a really cute one. I love the illustrations in that one as well. This one is actually an Usborne picture book. The classic story of the Town Mouse and Country Mouse. And again, I just love the illustrations in these books. I thought they were great copies to have. The next one, Are We Surprised? The Fox and the Falling Leaves, just a cute little story about a little kit fox discovering the wonders of fall. I remember reading this next one as a little girl, and so I wanted to have my own copy. The Puppy Who Wanted a Boy. I always thought it was a cute little story. The next one is the story of Ruby Bridges. Thought that one would be a great one to have. Educational. The next one, again, are we surprised? Flossie and the Fox. This one is also from Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. This one is just a hardcover edition. The next one is the classic story of the Ugly Duckling. I really loved this edition. It's very large, and again, the illustrations I love. Love, 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 if you can't tell, children's books that have beautiful illustrations. This next one was The Antlered Ship by Doshka Slater and the Fan Brothers, and it's just a random story about some animals who get on this ship and have quite the adventure. The description is, when an antlered ship arrives in the harbor, an inquisitive fox joins a flock of courageous pigeons and a herd of hungry deer on a quest for adventure, tasty grass, and the answers to some of life's most mysterious questions. So I thought it was just a fun little adventure story, and it just asks lots of questions, which I think is fun because I know that kids ask a lot of random questions that you don't always know the answers to. This next one is Crinkle Root's Guide to Knowing the Trees. So this one is just more of another educational book with illustrations about trees, how they grow, and the various kinds of leaves and trees, and identifying factors of the various species, which I thought is really fun and interesting and educational. And this next one, Flowers Are Calling, is kind of the same concept. It has lots of illustrations about different flowers and what they look like, and just the process of pollination, etc., of how flowers attract nature to them. But like this one, it has the magnolia, the violet, apple tree blossom, things like that. And it's a very beautiful book, I think. I'm dropping things here. The final two are just two books about people and girls who survived the Holocaust. The first one, Jars of Hope, by Jennifer Roy. It's how one woman helped save 2,500 children during the Holocaust. And then this next one is Heidi's Journey, the true story of a Hungarian girl fleeing the Holocaust. So I think these would be good little stories to have to read to children to teach them about history. So yes, those were all of the books that I brought home. It's quite a few of them, and now I'm officially on a book buying ban. I will still use the library probably, and if I find books at the thrift store, I might, like when I actually go shopping there, I might grab some if I find some ones that I don't want to miss out on. But as far as buying new books, I probably won't be doing that for a while. So yes. The other things that I did want to show was I found the complete set of the Andy Griffith Show. Loved watching these growing up, and it's just a classic, and they're not always available to watch online unless you pay extra for different streaming services, which we don't have all of them. So I wanted to have the DVDs just to be able to watch them when I feel inspired. And then I found these really cool records. This first one is The Years to Remember, and this is the most dramatic and important newscasts in radio history, exactly as you heard them when they changed the course of human events. Some examples are like King George VI's coronation, when Hitler declares war on Poland, Winston Churchill speech, Give Us the Tools, the Pearl Harbor incidents, FDR's speech, the Day of Infamy speech, just random things like that that I thought would be really interesting to listen to, especially like in the future. I'm thinking of homeschooling and just learning about history and being able to put this on the record player and letting my kids hear the speeches as people would have heard them on the radios back in the day when these events were actually happening. It's like making history come alive for them. And again, I'm a history nerd. I love history myself, so I think this would just be fun for myself just to listen to. And then the other one is Remember the Golden Days of Radio, and these are just random little stories of radio drama, mysteries, things like that, and hearing them as people would have listened to them on the radio back in the day. I still am part of the generation who was able to listen to some stories, mostly Adventures in Odyssey, on the radio growing up. And I don't know, do people even listen to stories on radio anymore? I just think that's like one of my favorite things about my childhood. One of my favorite memories about childhood is waking up early on a Saturday morning and turning the radio on and listening to radio drama stories. I love it. I don't know if it still happens anymore, but I just thought this would be a fun one to have, just to listen to some of those older stories that people would have listened to back in the day. But that is my haul. The fun story is that I did get some of these books for free. The store manager allowed the entire book department to take some books home for free as a celebration, because we broke an all-time record in our book sales last month. And I just think it's really awesome and exciting because for the 2 years that I was managing the book department, I was trying to break records, and one month I came really close. It was just like $100 short, I think, of breaking the sales record, and we finally did it last month, my last month working there. So that was a lot of fun and really exciting, and I was very happy and willing to take home some free books as a celebration, because they usually do celebrate milestones like that for the employees at the thrift store that I work at, usually getting coffee or getting lunch brought in for the employees, and we were just like, we don't really know what we want, and he was like, well, what about books, because all of us love to read books. And so I was very excited about that and grateful. But yes, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this haul as much as I did. I'm telling you, I'm gonna miss this mostly. I'm not really gonna miss working anymore because I've been really looking forward to just being able to be a stay-at-home wife and mom for a long time, and it's finally here. But I will miss having access, and first chance at some of the great books that would come through our thrift store. But I think it'll also be fun to just go to a store and shop for books and do some browsing as well, because I missed that. I didn't do a lot of that, obviously, because I would find the books before they would even go out on the shelves. So yes, let me know if you've read any of these books or if any of these looked interesting to you as well. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks again so much for watching. I really appreciate the support of all of you guys, for real. Yeah, I couldn't do this without you guys. So yes, thanks again, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.